On today's episode of MRTriton, this mod made my Triton gutless. Let's get stuck into it. So I recently did a mod that made my vehicle gutless. What am I talking about? What is the first mod we all want to do when we buy a new full drive? Bigger wheels. It may not be the most practical thing, but most of us love the look of a rigged out full drive with a set of 33-inch mud terrain tyres. So one of the first things you want to do, particularly with the GLX model of Triton with those little anorexic looking steelies, we want to take off the old wheels. We want to put on a set of Sunrays or something and put on a nice set of all-terrains, mud terrains, whatever. There's a few things to consider when doing this. This is something that I did recently. I've had this car for just over 2 years, give or take. I waited till recently to do the mod because it's not the most practical mod to do. What I'm going to go through right now is some of the pros and cons of doing this modification and my experience and just how it made my Triton gutless. So when you do mods to your vehicle, particularly a big set of tyres, it's all positives, isn't it? Better traction, better ground clearance, a more durable tyre. That's what you're going to think. But you'd be wrong in thinking so. There are negatives to doing certain modifications. Modifying your vehicle can cause issues with your weight, stability, ground clearance, roadworthiness, all things you need to consider when making a decision to modify your vehicle in a particular way. Otherwise, you're going to waste your money. Your car might look better, but you'll have a less capable vehicle overall. Remember, functionality over form is a virtue when it comes to overlanding. If you just want to take your vehicle off-road and thrash it, do what you want. That's fine, whatever. It's your vehicle. If you want to build a capable off-roader, there's some things that you need to consider. Let's break down some of these ways in which mods make our vehicles worse. Have you ever seen a dual cab ute with a rooftop tent on top? They've got themselves a set of roof racks. Not a flat rack, but just individual roof racks. And they slap a Adventure King's rooftop tent on the roof. Picture that vehicle in a wind tunnel and the areas of that vehicle that the wind resistance is going to be hitting. That rooftop tent is going to act like a parachute. Weight-wise, GVM is not something to take lightly. It's not just about red tape and bureaucracy for your local government and police wanting to chuck a defect on your vehicle so you've got to pay extra money. It's a genuine safety concern. If you're on an off-road obstacle and you're on a bit of an embankment and you've got a lean going, too much weight on the top of your vehicle is going to make it top heavy. You're going to end up on your side. Everyone's going to laugh. It's going to make a really cool video. Don't do it. Be aware of your vehicle stability as well. Your speedo accuracy comes into the whole roadworthiness argument. If you put on 33s, your vehicle speedo will not function correctly. Vehicles are generally 10 k's an hour, give or take, out in terms of what the speedo reads versus what the car's actually doing. Not sure if it's a quality control issue, not sure if it's a liability issue, I don't know. But generally, you'll find that that is the case. If that's the case, and then you put on a set of 33s, who even knows where your speedo's at? You're not going to know how fast your vehicle's going when your speedo says 110 until a cop's sitting there with a radar gun telling you you're going 120. Now, most of you will agree that I've been quite modest, quite conservative in the way that I've modified my Triton. I could have gone and taken a bunch of money off the mortgage and slapped on all kinds of mods and all sorts of stuff. No worries. But is it the wise thing to do? Is that going to give me the best vehicle I can possibly build bang for my buck? Definitely not. What I've done is I've put on tray rack on the back. A little bit of extra weight, not that much. Bull bar, bit of extra weight, not that much. I've done modifications that have made my vehicle more capable. And when I've done the modification, I've done it in a way that reduces some of those negative impacts. A bull bar will add weight. It'll increase your approach angle. It'll lower your front ground clearance. So you can modify your suspension to mitigate that. My tray rack on the back, I've done it so that when my rooftop tent is on top, it's flush with the roof. That way there's no wind resistance. I don't have any issues with fuel economy. A friend of mine had a Triton with 265s and a rooftop tent on the top of the vehicle. I was driving behind him on my 245 stock Steelies and my rooftop tent that's flush with the vehicle. He was using, according to the individual car's displays, I was using maybe 2-3 litres less per 100 k's in fuel. That adds up when you've got a big trip, you don't have long range tank, you want to go into the desert, etc. So am I telling you that I regret modifying my vehicle by putting on a set of 265 all-terrains? Not in the slightest. As you can see in this footage from Jacob Farm, versus this footage, These wheels have made my traction way better than it was from the factory, as you'd expect. That's why we buy a more aggressive off-road tire. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and I don't want to depict myself as saying that that is the case. You'll see a vehicle perform better off-road, but what you don't see is me trying to do a hill start in the Barossa Valley this weekend, and I can't. My clutch is slipping, my engine is struggling, it's stalling. I've got to rev the hell out of it to make it go up that hill. I'm going up a hill and I'm in second gear, for example, and it's quite steep. It's bitumen, not gravel, so there's no wheel spin. Revs are quite high. It's time to change gears. Manual vehicle, dump the clutch into third gear. All of a sudden bogs down. Accelerator's doing nothing, even though it's flat foot. Revs are dumping down. So I've got to chuck it back into second. Again, same thing happens because I've lost that much momentum. Revs bog down. Slap it back into first, jolt forwards. Very unpleasant driving experience. And now I've got to try and rev it up in first gear, chunk back into second, and the same thing occurs. Revs bog down, vehicle isn't going anywhere. So what causes this to occur? What causes the revs to bog down? Because I'd never experienced this issue before with the stock 245 Steelies. Rolling resistance is something that is significant when it comes to driving off-road in particular and modifying your vehicle by putting on bigger tires. Rolling resistance is something that affects your vehicle when you put on larger tires. As I said, the wheels are of a larger diameter. Therefore, there is more wheel to spin. In addition to that, a large set of all-terrains, your Mickey Thompsons, your BF Goodriches, whatever, they're going to weigh more than your stock little tire. I've had similar experiences when driving on sand with these tires. As you know, if your tires are at an adequate PSI on the road, then the vehicle is more fuel economic because it doesn't need to use as much rev/power to spin the wheels. If you're off-road and you've let PSI out of your wheels, they're more spongy again. So that's also going to increase your rolling resistance. There's more traction on the ground, which is more resistance, and there's more tire diameter and weight, which increases resistance. I've done takeoffs on the sand in first gear and really struggled to get the vehicle moving. If I'm on bitumen or high traction surface and the wheels are at the adequate PSI to reduce the rolling resistance that the vehicle is experiencing, what's the solution? The MRTriton out of the box is not a weak vehicle. It's a relatively powerful vehicle. Power has never been a concern aside from this recent experience. I've had the vehicle fully weighted up with stock tires. It's been able to take off, pull the weight, no worries. Things I can do to resolve this issue would be a throttle controller, for example, a tune to increase the performance of your vehicle. But again, those are two mods that you can do to your vehicle that have pros and cons. Throttle controllers. I have heard stories about throttle controllers. If it's not a good throttle controller, it'll rev the hell out of your engine and cause undue wear and tear and reduce the life of your vehicle, may even affect warranty. Engine tunes. If you go to the wrong place and they tune your vehicle without due care, they're going to potentially cause damage to your vehicle in the way that your vehicle is performing. Maybe you chip your vehicle and that chip isn't custom tuned to your vehicle, therefore it doesn't perform as well. Furthermore, you might void your warranty by messing with your computers within your vehicle and causing damage, or voiding your warranty in general and you have a different issue with your vehicle later on and they won't cover it because you've had it tuned. Things to consider. Now, it's important to know that when I say gutless, I don't mean that the vehicle doesn't have enough power. It's got power, it just is struggling to get that power to the wheels because it's got to go through these bigger tires, the more rolling resistance. I'm far from an expert on this topic, I'm just sharing my experience with you, but this is something to consider when you modify your vehicle. And that's it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video, I hope it's been helpful. Make sure you share your experiences with getting your vehicle tuned, getting a throttle controller, whether you've had similar issues and done nothing about it, and whether this video has changed your mind about doing certain modifications. Make sure you think about it before you chuck on a set of these big boys here. And as always, subscribe, share the videos around, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one.